Hey, and welcome to Christ Centered. This podcast focuses on chiropractors. Very passionate about chiropractic. I got Dr. Kerri. How you doing today?
Great, thank you.
Awesome. Well, I was excited to have you on. You guys are building this empire. You and your husband, also a chiropractor, are the elite power couple of chiropractic these days. You've got all kinds of things going on. I think it's 3 clinics, correct?
Yes, yes.
And then your husband is also, I call him the senator. He's now involved in politics. So many
Yeah,
things
county
happening.
commissioner. Yes.
Yeah, that's incredible. So obviously, 3 clinics, you're impacting your whole community. Something at some point must have really transformed your thinking to being this on purpose juggernaut, both in our profession and beyond. So, what are some things that impacted your way of thinking that made you so powerful, so influential, and where you wanted to really do more than certainly the average chiropractor?
Well, so basically, it's always been a passion since I became a chiropractor to let people know more about what it really, really is about, not just about an adjustment here or there. We really have always been focused on corrective care and not just chiropractic, but knowing like teaching people true health, knowing that drugs and surgery should be like not mainstream. We should actually be mainstream and they should be alternative. And that's kind of been my motto. That is like what I want to get out to the world, that chiropractic and natural health care should be more mainstream and all the other stuff should be last resort alternative. So,
You said some really powerful things that certainly explain multiple clinics doing the kind of work that you guys are doing. You said get it to the world. That's a lot different than obviously the average human being or chiropractor, let's say, that's just trying to do something for a person. That's a big deal. You've got this passion for changing the system, changing what's mainstream into obviously a much better other stream of health and wellness. So it gives you this idea where your concentric circles are wider. So one of the things that we teach is if you're just focused on the patient, you'll build a little practice of a few patients. If you're just focused on the practice, as those rings get wider, you'll build a bigger practice than somebody who's just trying to get one patient. If you're focused on a community, you start to grow a mega practice. You start talking about changing the world like you did. That's where you start to see multiple practices, a husband that's gone into government, and it just keeps getting bigger the broader your vision is. So what do you think, if I'm going to kind of push you a little deeper there? So something inspired that purpose. So is there an idea, a philosophy, an event that made you want to change the world this way?
well, so getting into like learning the 5 essentials of health was what kind of changed everything. Like teaching that to people, getting out there and being able to like get people in a classroom, in a setting where you could actually teach them and they would listen to you and it changed their mindset and you could actually see it and they would be like, oh yeah, like why did I think this way? Why am I not being told this by anybody else? That is kind of like what kind of spurred us on into just not ordinary chiropractic.
That's
So
amazing. When I was in chiropractic school in second quarter, I had gone there because I was in medical school. And then the medical doctor that I was seeing for my shoulder, because I was a wrestler, I was trying to make the Olympics, he hurt me. Like he did a procedure, gave me a drug, and it caused some pretty bad damage. And I was pretty messed up for some 19-year-old kid. And then I went to a chiropractor, and a chiropractor fixed me. So it just made common sense. I went to the dean of medicine and said, hey, the orthopedist hurt me. The chiropractor saved me. I'm back to wrestling again. I think I'm going to be a chiropractor. And I thought he'd be like, oh, good. That's just this branch of medicine. I didn't realize, how hypocritical it was. And he, of course, lost his mind and asked me why I wanted to be a witch doctor. But that changed, my perception. But then when I went to chiropractic school, I'm like, I'm here to fix people's shoulders. I'm here to help athletes that are hurting. And this is kind of leading into the question for you. And then I was sitting in a seminar, second quarter, and they talked about saving lives, changing the world, serving God. And this person that I was at the time, very self-focused wrestler, and I still would have called myself, even though I was after wrestling, I would have still said I'm a wrestler. It went from being a wrestler to like, wow, we serve God in chiropractic. We save lives. Like we do that. We change the world with our philosophy and the things we teach. And kind of like you said, it made me desirous of teaching. Suddenly loved to go out there and preach and teach, even at a young age. Was there, as this thing became a greater purpose for you in God, I know you're part of Christ Centered Chiropractic. So, in Christ, how did that impact the way you do life?
Well, so I didn't know anything about chiropractic. Like when I was growing up, never even heard the word chiropractic until I was a junior in high school. And like you, like I hurt myself in sports, like volleyball was my thing. I couldn't even play, couldn't serve, did this jump serve thing, and I didn't know what was going on. So one of my friends like told me about chiropractic, their mom had gone. And so I was already a junior. I was already trying to think, what can I do? Kind of interested in the health field, but I absolutely hate needles. Like absolutely hate needles with a passion. So went to this guy, and he, of course, it was a rib that had come out. He popped it right back in, and I was like, wow. But what I didn't tell him is that I was suffering from migraines, like bad migraines for years. And he started working on my neck, and lo and behold, my migraines like almost stopped. So that was the turning point where I'm like, wow. Then I started working for him, found out where to go for chiropractic college, did my pre-med, and then I met my husband there too. So, it was a whole God thing. And then of course, joining with the Christ Centered Chiropractic, like just refocused everything. Because we've practiced 26 years. You go from ups and downs, highs and lows. And we always knew that God needed to be in the center, every decision, all of that. But coming to you guys, to that seminar, and I'll be honest, I fought it because it's December. We came in December, busy. I'm always hosting Christmas, more expenses, blah, blah, blah. We were there. We signed up, and it was like, this is where we need to be. This is what is missing, to have a team of doctors, not only coaching, but praying for you, knowing that is happening behind the scenes made all the difference, and just changed a few things about the value system, like what it really means of what we're doing, changing the fees, and just that impacted everything, like huge. So anyway.
That's amazing. Yeah. By the way, mine was a rib also. The orthopedist said we should surgically remove it.
Wow.
And as a 19-year-old, I just remember thinking, that seems really stupid. And I didn't know anything about medicine. Certainly wasn't anti-medicine, wasn't pro-chiropractic. Same thing. I'd never heard of a chiropractor. Just thought that can't be a smart move at 19 to start taking a rib out. And that's what, when very similarly, somebody said, hey, have you ever gone to a chiropractor? Like, what? I don't know what one is. We'll say, what really helped me? Okay, I'll go. And not only did the pain go away in the shoulder, but one of the drugs that orthopedists had put me on had given me a bleeding ulcer, and that resolved with chiropractic, which I've always thought it was interesting. People that don't, quote unquote, believe that chiropractic helps more organs and health and systems. I'm always wondering, like, hey, I went to a guy that was just putting a rib in place and my ulcer healed. Like, don't you even accidentally occasionally just have an asthma go away or cancer resolves? Like, you don't just even see that stuff accidentally. And you have to be pretty focused on not believing chiropractic helps save lives to have not seen something like that. So another question then. So I know one of the things we started with you, we, obviously with our thing we're pioneering here around the 150 is a new million. You guys had the 3 clinics that you're all kind of running around to. And you had said, I remember the first call, we were putting the new plans together and talking about how to do things. You said, well, people don't have money around us. And you started talking about the different professions that were there, and they're all kind of low-end professions. But then suddenly the practice is collecting a huge amount of money. So what happened there? Kind of maybe explain for the audience, because for people that don't kind of know how to get from a smaller practice not making money to still a more of a moderate-sized practice that's actually highly lucrative.
Well, based on you guys' recommendations of like believing in yourselves, like looking at the value of your services and knowing what other doctors were charging, and just we sat down as a team when we came back from the seminar. I'm like, what are we comfortable with? Okay, can we go from here to here and still be comfortable? So we got to that point where we were all comfortable. Yes, this is worth this. We are worth this, and it's going to help a ton of people, and they can't get it anywhere else. So we got to do this. And that was a turning point where we just went ahead and did that. And then through more coaching and putting that value dollar up there with the fee that you're charging, huge, like that's huge. And so that was a big turning point there, where we just it just took off. And then I think the passion just took over because it was more fun. Again, it was like, okay, I think I can get paid for what I'm doing. Like, I know what I'm doing is important and making a difference, but just going through, like looking at x-rays, looking at their histories, and like, it's fun. That's part of what I love doing. Like, okay, we have shockwave, we have laser. Are they candidates for decompression? What about the rehab, the hypervibe, and just putting it all together. This is what you need, this is what we're charging. This is the only way you're going to avoid drugs or surgery for the rest of your life. And what we see, the kind of x-rays, oh my gosh, I'm not even lying to them. It's terrible, some of the stuff that we see. And we really, really are. It's the only hope to avoid that kind of lifestyle. And it's a God thing, because I'm telling you, there is so many cases that there's no way that we could be doing what we're doing with these people and them getting better, because they're just ugly x-rays. Like, I can't even explain, but he works in amazing ways. So it's crazy.
Yeah, you guys have incredible resources, and yours was a unique case because a lot of people come in and, there's a concern. What about this community? Can it really support the kind of value that we're offering? Smaller town, again, no high-end careers. And so it was just pretty remarkable to see you guys raised to the level that you've raised, this north of $1 million clinic. I know in the face of an election and all the work that Dr. Chad has to do now to help run the government, he's been very thankful that your clinic in particular has skyrocketed like it has financially, which is, it's something kind of interesting there. I was talking to there's a doctor client of ours that just went to a pediatric event, and she's working for another client who, when he's an older guy, and back in like the 70s and 80s, a lot of chiropractors would just see the kids for free. But she came back with all this value for taking care of kids, knowing just the opportunity chiropractic offers a child for reaching their potential now, fulfilling their destiny in the future. So she couldn't imagine doing this for free, because she understands this incredible, intensive level of value that we really offer. So when you think of somebody doing it cheap or free, it just loses its quality. It loses its essence and its power. And so we don't want to rob. It's not just about making more money. It's, obviously, like you said, it's much more satisfying, fulfilling to have a career that also helps you thrive economically. That's part of enjoying what you do for a living. Right. But the other part is you just hate to devalue something that's so powerful like chiropractic. So you guys, I'm excited for you economically. I'm also excited for the power that's come back to the practice and the fact that it is more satisfying. So last thing I have for you. So you've got obviously a lot going on. I don't think I've ever asked you guys, do you have children?
We do. We have 3 boys, and so the oldest is 23. He's a firefighter, and he's married, and we're actually expecting our first grandbaby in November. So
you look 23. That seems impossible. Yeah.
Then we have the 19-year-old, all 3 boys, and then the youngest is a sophomore in high school, so he's 16, and he keeps us running because he's a baseball-aholic, and we're about to start summer ball. I can't make the seminars because we're following him around and doing that kind of stuff. So anyway, 3 children, 3 boys, and a grandbaby on the way. So yeah.
Wow. So that is inevitably leads to the final question here. So how does somebody with a purpose like yours, a mindset like you and Dr. Chad have as one of the consummate power couples in the profession, 3 clinics, working in the government, like as a leader in the government, like Dr. Chad is, how are you doing it? How are you managing all this, not only getting through it, but thriving in it? Give us some insights.
Well, it's just we have an amazing team. I'm not going to lie. In both clinics, like, we have a team that we could not do it without them. And like prayer is what gets us through, and just focusing on supporting each other. And communication is very minimal these days with all of his county business, but we do, like, it's gotten so much better. Like when we talk about business, when things have changed, it's just so much easier to like just talk through things. So I know, it's challenging when you work in the same profession. We used to work in the same building and under the same roof and everything. It definitely has its challenges, but we have seen just huge changes just with our attitudes with each other. And it's definitely a balance. Our team has to kick in. We have to get everything on the calendar, and I'm not great at that. I'm really good at organizing and planning, but it does take an army. We have to reach out and get some help sometimes. So
that's good. That's actually a powerful word, as a lot of people are trying to do this just by themselves, bootstrapping everything they do and just building a powerful team around you. I think people would be surprised how much you can do. I generally run around 9 companies at one time, and people think that sounds impossible to do without, leaving your family and, being a person who's just scattered everywhere. But if you build a powerful team in each of these different units that you can really rely on, who take ownership of it, there's no end in sight to what you can do. So just really appreciate you guys. It's been so fun to kind of reconnect and start working together again the last few months, and just so proud of the work you're doing. And again, you guys really are a leading edge power couple in this profession. And I can't wait to see what's coming. And I will vote for President Chad here soon, I know.
Great. I'll tell them that. But we thank you so much too for everything, for the Christ Centered Chiropractic. Like I'm telling you, it's a game changer for sure.
Awesome. Well, bless you guys. Everybody watching, remember who you are.